Yeah, well, Dallas wide receiver Michael Gallup told me that he and Seattle running back Chris Carson are good friends. That stems from their time in JUCO. They text throughout the season, texted this week, and it was his friend who gave the Cowboys all sorts of problems in week 3, rushing for 102 yards and scoring a touchdown. And since that game, highly efficient. In his last 4 games, he now has the league's leading rushing yards, as well as he has the league's leading rushing yards and carries, while the second most rushing touchdowns. Now, I asked Michael Gallup, given some of that knowledge, what can you tell us about him? He said, look, I told the guys on defense that if you're going to tackle him, he's a big old bowling ball. You better wrap him up. Let's go back to some of those lowlights from week 3.
Seattle comes in 0-2. The Cowboys 1-1. Prescott looks, throws a rifle. Ball is picked off. Prescott gets hit in the backfield. Cowboys are in a little bit of disarray. Pass to the end zone for the touchdown. Throws down the sideline pocket. Tyler tiptoes in. Chris Carson pounds his way in. Ball. We got the football. In the air, and it's intercepted.
Today wasn't fun, wasn't pretty, and offensively, they just don't have any rhythm.
Yeah, different times. Speaking of different times, let's compare the triplets now to the triplets when they were just about to win their first Super Bowl. These are just some interesting numbers, food for thought. Right there.
Okay. And pretty good.
Yeah. Now let's see you and Amari Cooper.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Amari, bad man.
Okay. Who's the bad man? The guy on the left, right?
I think both are. You know what I mean, Rich? But I am a bad boy.
Well, when you were watching the week 3 highlights, you were like, different team. It is a different team. Look, I mean, in every way, shape, or form, that was pre-Amari Cooper. That was before Leighton Vander Esch was getting out there and coming into his own, before Jalen Smith was proving that he was a Hot Boys leader. The Hot Boys hadn't even been formed, I don't think.
Right, that was the week we brought it up. Remember, I brought it up on the desk. That week. It was that week.
And as we all know, Earl Thomas has gone, so it's a different Seahawks team as well. Give me the name of a playmaker for the Cowboys for today, though.
And Rich, when you heard me say different team, I was saying different teams.
Yep.
Both are. Because Seattle's running the ball much better than they did in week 3, and they started it on Dallas. But Dallas has an addition called Amari Cooper, who I'm telling you is the difference. It has to be the difference in this game. You know, Amari Cooper he's averaged 80 yards. You just saw that. But he's only had 83 yards the last 3 games combined. We need the big plays out of him. And that's on Dallas, too, because they have to move him around and give him some opportunities to make those big plays. You remember, they do not have Earl Thomas either. So now you got Amari Cooper on one side able to make big plays without the guy on your defense that really stopped us with stop the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I got you.
With a lot of big plays on defense. You know, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and Raiders fans need to hold on to their hats. I know that they got our guy Mayock there now shopping for the groceries, but you got Cooper out there on a wild card Saturday night. Then you got Khalil Mack going out there on a wild card Sunday finisher. Yeah. At any rate, let's move things along.
They got 2 teams in the playoffs. They couldn't get the Raiders in.
Omar Ruiz with the latest on the Seattle Seahawks right now. Omar.
Hey, Rich, Russell Wilson may not be as demonstrative as some of his peers, but he's as a ferocious competitor as there is in football, according to his teammates and coaches. Offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer telling me he has a unique ability to express that inner fire in such a positive manner. He has a calming influence in the game's most critical moments. Doug Baldwin saying it's that positivity why no matter the circumstances in a game, how dire they may appear to be, the Seahawks always believe they can come back and win. For more on this game now, let's send it back to Kurt and Mooch.
All right, Omar, thanks. Kurt, let's talk about how these hot boys are going to try to contain that guy named Russell Wilson in the best run game in the National Football League. Let me start off with this. Russell Wilson, people, has run the read option more than anybody in the league, all right? 270 times, and he usually hands it off. But when he pulls it, he uses good discretion when he pulls it, and he lulls you to sleep because you got Carson and Davis and Penny banging it up in there time after time, and then Russell Wilson, when you least expect it, will pull this thing out, and he'll do damage. Guy's got 16 touchdowns. Over the last few years, he's really something with his own read, Kurt.
And it's interesting, as you said, how they do it. It almost seems like they tell him early in games, hey, Don't pull it. Don't pull it. Just give him the. But then when you need that big play late. But I tell you what, the first time around, the Cowboys did a great job because it's all about gap control, right? Watch all the defensive linemen. They get to their gap. And then you got this guy. He wasn't starting at the time, Vander Esch. But, man, he came in this game and made some huge plays. Now here, you talk about Russell Wilson, right? You got to have a guy that spies him in every situation. They got Sean Lee on the backside, gap control up front. Nobody get out of your gap. Don't give him an opening. And make sure you got somebody there for Russell Wilson. Now watch this. They're going to play to their speed. DeMarcus Lawrence, they're going to put him inside because they know they got the fastest linebackers in the league. Those two guys in Smith and Vander Esch can run. And then right here, I love this. Take on the blocker. Once again, get him going sideways. You get him going sideways. That is not where Seattle is at their best. First time around, only 113 yards rushing for the Seahawks. That's about 50 below their yearly average. So I like what the Cowboys did.
Was that the first time you did an XO on a defense? That was a good job, man.
No kidding, man.
Wow,
and
he's a versatile guy.
This is wild.
Wow, he can do it all. Let's go over to NRG Stadium, getting ready for the big game. And Kurt, a little bit later on, we're going to talk about a couple of comeback players of the year, Andrew Luck, Deshaun Watson. Who do we have more confidence?
Okay, that's the home of the Houston Texans, where we're getting set to see part 3 of Colts and Texans today in the AFC wild card game. Shall we review what's happened previously? Previously on Colts Texans. This was back in the day, this was week number 4. Andrew Luck trying to go for a first down. Instead, they gave the ball back to the Houston Texans, and Deshaun Watson to DeAndre Hopkins, playing his enemies like a game of chess. Oh, yes. That must have been jelly, because jam don't shake like that. Leading to Kareem Fairbairn. Rich. No, a second. Up, and he, booyah! Right through the uprights. That is the Texans beating the Colts right there. 9-game win streak that the Colts then went and broke up. Normally, Deshaun Watson would perform very well in a game like this, but there was a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. Here comes Andrew Luck, as cool as the other side of the pillow, down to the 1-yard line. That led to an Eric Ebron touchdown, and then Andrew Luck to Zach Pascal. Straight butter. Touchdown, Andrew Luck. And that's the way the Colts took one back from the Texans. 24-21. Okay, let's now send things out to Houston, Texas, where James Palmer is standing by. James?
Thanks, Rich. I also thoroughly enjoyed that. Now, the Texans' defensive line, they move their guys around maybe more than anybody else in football. One of the things they've done the last couple of seasons, putting Jadeveon Clowney over the center, standing him up and having him rush with a head of steam. And I talked to Bill O'Brien about that this week, and he told me when he does that, we're giving him a lot of freedom to go after the center however he seems fit. And when I talked to Clowney, he said when he makes the approach towards the center, he looks at it like he's on a basketball court, trying to cross him up in a sense, and he likes going against bigger centers. Remember, Ryan Kelly is a 6'4" guy, battling a neck issue, lost some strength in his arms. That could be a key to the Texans' defense getting at Andrew Luck this afternoon. Now let's go to Randy Moss on the Colts side of things.
Colts head coach Frank Reich was known for comebacks during his way back days as a quarterback, but he says this has been even more satisfying. When the Colts started 1-5, their chances to make the playoffs, 1.1%. That's based on 2 teams having previously accomplished that in the Super Bowl era. And when the Texans started 0-3, their chances of making the playoffs, 2.2%. So mathematically, what's the probability of both teams in the same year making the playoffs after those starts? 0.02%. Against those staggering odds, though, for the 3rd time this year, we get Andrew Luck versus Deshaun Watson.
It's the return of Andrew Luck.
Season, and you could see right up there, but the truly remarkable number is that if we told you before the season, just blindly, the number of times one quarterback would be sacked versus the other, it's kind of completely changed. I mean, Luck, as we all know, was battered around, his shoulder banged up to the point we didn't think he would be back. Certainly at this level, he was absurdly well protected this year. Deshaun Watson sacked 60 times. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Now, part of that might have to be the number of times that they would just let him try and improvise or run. But anyway, long story short is you got two quarterbacks who are playing very well. Luck's back at the top of his game. Deshaun Watson, we all know, as Dabo called him. Michael Jordan and cleats. Here comes his first playoff game. Who do you have more confidence in today, Steve? Luck or Watson?
Well, it's got to be Andrew Luck, not because of the quarterbacks, because both of these guys are great, all right? It's because of their protectors, and you mentioned it. Deshaun Watson has been sacked the most time, and then when you add all the other pressures and quarterback hits, man, that can wear on you, right? Andrew Luck, on the other hand, has been sacked the least amount of times, and he's thrown the ball 639 times, second most in the league. So the offensive lines are different in this game. The Colts have 3 first-rounders and a second-rounder, and they're experienced. They've been doing a great job. So that's where I get my confidence in production from the quarterback. Andrew Luck's got the better offensive line.
Well, yeah, I'm taking Deshaun Watson over here, guys. And let me tell you now, we've all been talking about how great Andrew Luck is playing. He is playing great. But when we start talking about, they started 1-6. So let's go. Week 7 on. From week 7 on. Right now, these two quarterbacks, actually, Deshaun Watson has the better numbers. I mean, 71% to Luck's 69% in completion percentages. 112 to Luck's 106 in passer ratings. This dude now steps in the playoffs. I've been waiting to see him on this level. I don't know about everybody else and anybody else, but I've been waiting to see. And there's a stat going around that any game that he has started and finished, he has never lost a game by more than 1 score. He is incredible in the backfield, Houdini, and I'm waiting to see exactly what he pulled out of his hat today in his first playoff game.
Yeah, well, first of all, Rich, great job with the highlight, little tribute to our friend. That was awesome. Yeah. But I'm going Andrew Luck here, and it's simply because I think he's the more complete quarterback at this point in time in his career. And we can look at Deshaun Watson, and he does some great things, no doubt. But a guy that does it on every snap, that can make plays with his feet, he can make plays with his arm, he makes plays with his mind. He's come back at a level that I don't think anybody expected this year. And to me, so much of this is about being able to be upright. And Deshaun Watson can run around a lot, but Mooch, you were talking about how many times he's been sacked and he holds the football. 44 of his 62 sacks have happened after 4.5 seconds. 4.5 seconds. Yeah. I mean, that is an eternity in the National Football League to throw the football, but it speaks to the fact, to me, 2 things. First, there's times where I don't know if he really knows what he's seeing. And he's back there just buying time so he can run out and make a play and not understanding when a play is over, which sometimes has been incredible with Deshaun Watson.
His greatest
but
asset.
There's other times, I mean, he's been sacked 12 times.
It becomes a liability.
12 times in the 2 games that they've played this year. 12 times. I don't think they win if he gets sacked 6 times today. He's got to find a way to get the ball out of his hands and win quickly with the football. So I'm going Andrew Luck because of that.
Well, and I appreciate you saying something there, Kurt, because it was 4 years ago yesterday that we all found out on this set, this very weekend, wildcard weekend, that Stuart Scott had passed away. And this weekend would have meant so much to him, and I love talking about him when we have a microphone on him, when we have a platform to talk about it. He loved a weekend like this. He loved football, and he also loved in the sports world, because I kind of mirrored his own experience, people who succeed when they were told they can't, and they succeed by staying true to who they are themselves. Dak leaps to mind. Obviously, Lamar Jackson leaps to mind. The other young quarterback, Deshaun Watson, leaps to mind. And he loved the Bears, and here comes Mitch Trubisky, as you've been referring to him lately, Steve. I mean, it's just a big, huge weekend, and all of us here, I wasn't planning on saying anything, but when you mentioned it, I just figured I'll just throw it out there. Stuart Scott and all his family, rest in peace. We love you. We miss you. And that's all we have to say on, obviously, that subject for the moment, but we always have Stuart right here on big weekends like this. Ian Rappaport, take it away. Ian?
Very well said, Rich. As far as back to the Houston Texans, they do have some contractual priorities here after the season. You guys mentioned Deshaun Watson, big-time player on offense. They got a couple great players on defense that they want to keep and extend. One is Tyrann Mathieu on a 1-year deal, the Honey Badger. They want to extend him. The biggest one, though, is the one you're seeing right here, Jadeveon Clowney, their star pass rusher, former top pick. I'm told they want to do a long-term deal with him. If they cannot do that, they are expected to use the franchise tag. Could be $15 or $17 million, depending on which tag. It is not the priority for the Texans. It's not what they want to do. But if they can't reach a long-term deal with him before the deadline, that is exactly what they do. They're not going to let him get anywhere, Rich.
All right, Ian. Thanks very much. That you're going to be on that screen later today, firing up the people, right?
Yes, sir. I will be letting them know. Fire them up. Yes, sir. Got on my red, white, and blue
right now. I can't wait for that game. It's going to be great.